It started like any other day. The sky was grey, the kind of dull blanket that smothers the sun and your spirit with equal force. I was already running late to work, juggling a lukewarm cup of coffee and a phone buzzing endlessly with emails I had no interest in opening. I lived in a loop of bland routine: wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. It was safe, predictable, numb. I never imagined that a single misstep, a literal one, would crack that loop wide open. At the corner of 7th and Main, I slipped, not in a metaphorical, I made a mistake kind of way. My shoe actually slid across the wet pavement like a bad joke, and before I knew it, I was sprawled across the sidewalk, my coffee a tragic splash across my shirt. "Are you okay?" a voice asked. I looked up into a pair of dark eyes. Concerned, kind, real. A man about my age, mid-30s, with a camera slung around his neck and a worried look etched across his face. He held out his hand. I took it. "I think my pride is more bruised than anything," I joked, dusting myself off. He smiled, and for a second, time stuttered. "You looked like you were in a hurry. Want to grab a new coffee?" My treat. And that was how I met Elijah. We ended up at a tiny cafe I'd passed 100 times but never entered. It was warm, lined with books, plants, and soft music that felt like a hug. We talked like old friends who had somehow forgotten each other's names. About travel, dreams, regrets, the art of wasting time. Elijah was a photographer, freelance, always between flights, capturing stories instead of living in one place. I told him I worked in finance. Numbers, deadlines, endless screens. The kind of job people say they're lucky to have but secretly loathe. "Are you happy?" he asked. I opened my mouth, closed it. I didn't have an answer. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small printed photo. It was a little girl in a red coat, feeding pigeons in front of a cathedral. The picture was alive. I took this in Prague. She didn't notice me, just lived that moment fully. That's what I chase, that realness. Something cracked inside me then, a quiet break. Not painful, liberating. We stayed in that cafe for hours. I forgot about work, about the emails, the calls, the deadlines. I watched the steam rise from my second cup of coffee and wondered how long it had been since I had simply existed. When we finally walked out, the sun had muscled its way through the clouds. The sky looked different. I felt different. "Come with me," he said. Just like that. No pressure, no expectation. "I'm flying to Lisbon tomorrow." "Ever been?" I laughed. "You're insane." He grinned. "Maybe, or maybe you just need one day to stop being scared." That night, I couldn't sleep. His words echoed louder than my own thoughts. I stared at my resignation email, drafted it, deleted it, drafted it again. The next morning, I hit send. I called my boss, apologized, didn't explain. Then I called Elijah. "Lisbon, huh? Bring comfortable shoes." And just like that, I left. We wandered through Europe for 3 months. Streets became stories. I learned to see life through a lens, not just his camera, but his eyes. We chased sunsets, shared silence, fought over silly things like train schedules and whose turn it was to buy pastries. It was messy, beautiful, real. But life, like stories, needs conflict to move forward. Elijah got a call. His mother, sick, terminal. He had to go back. He asked if I'd come with him. I did. For weeks, we lived in a quiet house in Oregon. I watched him become someone else, gentler, more tired. He took photos of her every day, documenting goodbye. He said that's how he processed love, through light and shadow. She passed peacefully, her hand in his. He cried without sound. After the funeral, he asked for space. I gave it. Too much, maybe. We drifted. I flew home. Not to my old life, but to a new city. I didn't go back to finance. I started writing stories. Real ones. Sometimes with endings, sometimes without. I wrote about the fall, the cafe, the man with the camera. Sometimes, Elijah would send a postcard. Never signed. But I knew that one ordinary day, it split my life in two. And I've never been more grateful for a cup of spilled coffee.